Hmm. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Ken. Today, we are going to be doing a video about comparing these three phones. This is not an ASMR video, I apologize, but I have been thinking about changing my phone, my old phone. I am currently recording on the Zenfone 6, which was a flagship phone from Asus in 2019, but it is still good for videos. It's my old phone. It worked wonders for me, but it's time for it to go. Time for it to retire finally. So I hope you're having a good morning or a good night, depending on where you are. If you're working right now, then please just ignore this and maybe watch it later. If you are not working or not at school or not occupied in any way whatsoever, then maybe you have time to just listen to me rant about my experience purchasing some of these phones and my opinions on them after using them for the duration that ranges from a few days to a month to just really under 24 hours. So here's the deal. I really loved my Zenfone 6, and currently I'm recording with it because the camera on it, it's still just perfectly fine for everyday use. The screen size is adequate at 6.4 inches. The speed of the chipset is getting quite sluggish because it's using the Snapdragon 855, which was great at the time. But of course, as apps keep on getting updated, the phone is just going to get slower and slower. Even if it's well optimized, the chipset simply cannot compare with the flagships of this year or last year. So it's time to go. The main reason, actually, I didn't even mention this, is that my Zenfone is starting to die. So while I'm just going to town and I'm just swiping through my phone or walking on the street, the phone would just suddenly die on me. It would just reboot itself, and well, we can't have that because what if I'm trying to purchase some things, right? I'm using wireless payment. Maybe I need the Google Maps, I need navigation, and suddenly the phone just dies. So maybe it's not particularly dangerous in the way that I'm not driving while I'm doing it. If it just dies, it's going to cause a major inconvenience, maybe hold up people at the end of the queue, things like that. So, can't have that. This phone that I'm recording right now, the Zenfone 6, okay, that is going to be put in the drawers, and I'm just going to put it in storage and just cherish it. Have a great fond memory of it, but can't really use it on a daily basis. All right, so now that we have discussed this old phone that's going away, we're just gonna let it do its thing. Let it record, okay? So, how should I start this? In my strong desire to purchase a new phone, I have looked everywhere for information on what would be the best phone, the best phone maybe for me, the best phone for others. What would be something that would be suitable as a replacement for this amazing phone that I had? So, the first thing I wanted to look at was the Pixel phones. So that would be the Google Pixel. I got the 8 Pro, so it's the bigger ones, the bigger brother of the two. And at 6.7 inches, this is really quite a sizable phone, much larger than my Zenfone 6. And I'm not gonna lie, I have quite large hands. So for me, holding this is all right. It's not uncomfortable. The weight, however, is a problem because my old phone was at around 190 something grams, and I already thought that was pretty heavy. I already thought that was quite bulky, like a piece of equipment that you're carrying in your pocket, in your hands all the time. And this is even heavier. So, a bigger, heavier phone. We'll get to the cameras later. It's got amazing cameras. It's just a bigger, heavier phone. And if you like larger phones, you like to feel that, okay, I've spent a lot of money on this, and it is something that I want to feel like it's luxurious. It is well made, and it is very well made. It is something substantial. Then, okay, you would like this phone because, well, it's a big phone, it's a heavy phone, it's a solid phone, so you're not gonna be worried about, it feels cheap. No, it doesn't, right? I Everything just feels premium. Everything feels good. Everything is put together very well. Fingerprint magnet, of course, but that can be said about any phone really. The matte back is actually very good for countering the fingerprint magnets. Sorry, the fingerprints, fingerprint magnet, fingerprints. But of course, I would always want to put a case on my phone. So that's just me. If you like to go caseless for your phones, then, well, this one feels like it should hold up. I'm not going to drop this on, on concrete like some other YouTubers would do. But, from the videos that I saw, it handled itself quite well. It's not going to be, scratch free after being dropped, but it's going to be, unbroken, and usually it holds up very well. But of course, be careful with your phones. All right, just a quick overview. And then let's move on to the next one. This is the Nothing Phone 2. So one thing about the Pixel 8 Pro, and look at these bezels, they're absolutely gorgeous. One thing that bothered me was the fact that, the top bezel is not symmetrical with the bottom bezel. Okay, so I'm just nitpicking at this point, right? Who really cares about symmetrical bezels? Well, apparently, Nothing does. So this is the Nothing phone, yeah? And let's take a look. We got the fingerprint sensor a bit lower on the phone, whereas if you can see on the Pixel 8, the fingerprint is a bit over the top. Oh, and it's got face unlock. Okay, so that's convenient. So if we look at it, the position of the fingerprint sensor is much more comfortable on the Pixel 8 Pro, and I think they have put some thought into this. Whereas for the Nothing phone, it's really low on the bottom, and this is a big phone. So let me just go through the basics. These are both 6.7-inch displays. LTPO, 1 hertz to 120 hertz. Yeah? All right. So it's supposed to save you battery. The Google Pixel 8 Pro, of course, uses the Tensor G3, very famous as it just came out, and disappointingly slow in the benchmarks compared to the Snapdragon and Apple and the MediaTek competitors, but we don't talk about that. The Nothing Phone 2, all right, it also feels like a very premium phone. It's of course very special in the way that it's got the glass back and it's transparent. You can see behind the glyph lights. These will actually light up. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the glyph lights. When I bought this, I was thinking, oh, good, it's got great specs. Yeah, it looks good, and the glyph lights I'm never going to use. I am never going to use the glyph lights because why? Why would I ever need this? This is a gimmick. This is just a gimmick. It always will be a gimmick. Maybe it will be practically useful, maybe 0.1% of the time when you're using this phone. All right, maybe like in 100 days you'll have one moment in one day where you actually need to use the glyph, like need to use the glyph lights, other than just showing off. But the specs of this phone is actually pretty good. So it's thin, it's skinny. I would say I would say it's skinnier than the Pixel 8 Pro, even though it looks thicker because of its more boxy sides. It's trying to be the iPhone of the Android world, and the Pixel is also trying to be the iPhone of the Android world. I hate to say this, but so many Android phones are just trying to be the iPhone of the Android world, and they're all taking parts from each other, right? Maybe they'll learn something from this company, they'll learn something from that company, and by learn, I mean they're just going to take it if it's not patented, and they'll just put it on their phones and put the design on their phones and hope someone or everyone will like it. For the Pixel, this feels more premium than the Nothing Phone 2, and it makes sense because at this current time, at near the end of 2023, this is the Google Pixel 8 Pro is a very expensive phone. It's $1,000, £1,000 in the UK, and if you want to get the higher spec version, the more storage, that's just going to cost you extra. It starts at 1,000. So it's not a cheap phone, right? You expect flagship performance. You expect everything to work perfectly after you spend that much money. Okay, so unfortunately, it doesn't really quite cut the mustard in that respect. This is can be forgiven in the way that it costs maybe $600 or £600. So this is much cheaper at almost half the price. Yeah. So this is not going to be put under as much scrutiny as the Pixel 8 Pro. This does have a Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1. Okay, so using the TSMC 4nm process instead of using the Samsung chip. Yeah. So this is going to be fast, much snappier, supposedly, much snappier than the, or at least much faster in terms of benchmarks and performance than the Tensor G3. So if you are looking for something that's going to be fast, let's say gaming, okay, or video editing, something that requires graphical intensity usage, I'm sorry, but the Tensor chips are just not up to par. I know Google is offering 7 years of support, so both software updates and security updates for the Pixel 8 Pro, and that's great. So if you want to keep this phone for a long time, okay, great, absolutely wonderful. It's going to get slower. That's just a given. There's no phone that becomes significantly faster over the years as you use it. It's like asking your car to be faster and faster, like a 20-year-old car to be faster than a brand new car. If they're at the same level, it's just not. It's just not realistic. So all these phones are gonna get slower, and I keep on forgetting to mention the one right here. Okay, so this is the Samsung S23. And I'm just going to say it right here. This is the one I'm going to keep. Yeah, this is the phone that I'm going to keep. So this actually looks very unimpressive compared to the Nothing Phone 2 and the Pixel 8 Pro. And actually, well, the price for the Nothing Phone 2 and the S23, they're about the same. So for me personally, I'll just say that I got the Nothing Phone 2 512 gig version, all right, for the same price as the S23 256 gig version. And why do I have to go with 256 on S23? I think you know why. For the 128 gigs on S23, it's UFS 3.1, okay, which is great, but not the best. UFS 4.0 is twice as fast, storage-wise, as UFS 3.1. And the 256 and the 512 gigabyte models have that, but not the 128. So if you're going to get the S23, always go above 128. Always. Just spend more money. You're getting much more. 128 is going to run out. It's going to be slow. If you're going to keep this, the S23 for any amount of time that is maybe longer than 6 months, I would recommend getting at least 256. So just a quick comparison between all these three phones. As you can see, the S23 is much smaller. Okay, I've had big phones for years, so I've always liked the big screen, right? And who doesn't? Who doesn't like to have a large, bright, vivid screen that just catches your attention? It's very enticing to have a big screen. And when we look at the actual display, yeah, it's just a very good display. It's smooth, yeah. It's bright. The pixel density is absolutely amazing, yeah. So the display on the Pixel 8 Pro, there's nothing to complain about. I mean, besides the uneven bezels, but that's just me being nitpicky. The actual display is actually very good. I have no complaints about that. My complaints lie elsewhere, and we'll go into that in a moment. So The Nothing Phone 2 also has a wonderful display. I don't like the fingerprint sensor because it's so low. I have to hold my phone down like this. Maybe my hands aren't big enough, but I think I think if my hands are any larger, then I can't use small phones, which is another kind of limitation. So this is also an absolutely beautiful phone. It's very bright. Okay, the pixel density isn't quite as high as the Pixel 8 Pro, but that's to be expected. This phone is much cheaper. The bezels are actually equal on all four sides. So if you care about that, like I do, then this will not trigger you as much as the Pixel 8 Pro would, especially considering this price. So this is also a lighter phone, right? The Pixel 8 Pro is about 213 grams, if I remember correctly. This is about 201 grams. So a little over 10 grams of difference. Maybe you're not going to feel the difference, but for me, I think this definitely makes a difference. So if you don't need the flagship specs on the Pixel 8 Pro, not talking about the chip, mainly about the camera and the user interface, the flagship specs on the Pixel 8 Pro really will wow you. And then after you come to the Nothing Phone, you see that, oh, okay, so Nothing Phone is trying to be a flagship, right? This is most definitely their flagship because they only have two phones at the moment in their whole inventory. But this is trying to be a flagship, but it's not quite there yet in terms of comparison with the other big brands. So Nothing Phone is a rising star. Hopefully they'll do much better in the future. But at the moment, the Nothing Phone 2 is a flagship wannabe, basically. It's not a flagship. It's a upper mid-range phone, and you can tell when you compare it with other flagships. The S23 is a flagship in and of itself. It's just a smaller phone. A flagship doesn't have to be huge like the S23 Ultra. Of course, that is the flagship, the S23 Ultra of the Samsung lineup. But the S23 has major specs that are very comparable with the Ultra series. So, is it a flagship phone? Yes, it is. So what I've noticed is that when I'm using the Nothing Phone 2, it is just a bit not slow or glitchy, but sometimes it gets a bit choppy. Sometimes it just gets a bit choppy. Like I feel like I'm using this phone and sometimes I'm scrolling through the web page and I'm scrolling through Google Feed, okay, going on Reddit, seeing like all the threads, and it would just lag. It would just have a bit of chop, like not even that long. It's like maybe like a 50 millisecond chop. Like just kind of hangs there for 50 milliseconds and boom, moves on. All right, so it will load everything. It works properly. It's just I feel like it's trying to do more than it can do. I'm sure the chipset is more than capable, but maybe the optimization of the software level is not quite perfect just yet. Nothing is perfect, but nothing is perfect. Well, it's not perfect. It's just it's trying to get there. It has to be as close to perfect as possible. However, it's just not as close to that level as the Google and the Samsung. So, and of course, all of these three phones support wireless charging. The Google Pixel 8 Pro has a 5,050 milliamp hour, if I remember. Nothing Phone 2 has 4,700 milliamp hours, and S23 has the about 3,900. All right, but it's not about the battery size. It's about optimizations. So it depends on what kind of chip you use, how big your screen is, how you use your phone. Now that is your personal variable. How you use your phone can greatly affect the battery life. So, but all of these have wireless charging. All of these have fast charging. I don't care about how other people talk about, oh, my phone has 67 watt charging. My phone has 100 watt, 125 watt charging. I don't care about that. Why? Because I don't have a charger like that, and I don't want to use a charger like that. I already have plenty of chargers. If I have any new chargers, I'm just wasting, resources. I'm just creating more trash for the environment. So I don't want to do that. I already have a very good 100 watt charger that can split between 3 devices. All right, I'm happy with that. So if a phone can charge above 25 watts, which is the maximum charging rate, wired charging rate for the S23, then I'm happy. Okay, I don't need to charge up my phone, fully in 10, 15 minutes. I don't need that in my life. So for me, that's not a big concern. If that is for you, then Actually, I don't really know which one charges the fastest, but it's not this. The S23 charges at 25 watts. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think the Google Pixel maybe charging 30 watts or something like that. Yeah, and Nothing Phone 2 could be the fastest one. Again, not sure, but fast charging for me, all these three have fast charging because you put them on. You go eat a sandwich, you go do something else, and you come back, your phone's gonna be ready for the rest of the day. All right, that's just the way I use it, and I'm happy with that. So in terms of looking at, let's go back to the displays again. All right, this is the Google Pixel 8 Pro has the highest pixel density. It's called the Pixel, all right, and this is the Pro version. All right, you can adjust the resolution on this phone. You can have it as full resolution or as high definition resolution. And that, I think the lower resolution setting is actually more than enough. But if you've already bought this phone and you want to see the pretty pictures, then why don't you just turn on the full screen resolution, the full resolution. It looks just absolutely amazing. When you zoom in the photos, everything looks perfect. It's already crisp on the low setting. It's even crisper on the high setting. Okay, so this has the best screen, just hands down. Pixel 8 Pro has the best screen out of these three. This is Nothing Phone 2, I would say have the worst screen. Not because the screen itself is bad, but everything is relative here, right? Because the Nothing Phone has the same size screen as the Pixel 8 Pro, okay? But it has the same resolution as the smaller S22, so similar resolution, so full HD, yeah? And when you stretch it out like that, the pixel density drops so much that you can actually see the difference between the Google's Super Actual Display, gimmicky name, Super Actual Display, but it is what it is. And then you have the regular full HD display on the Nothing Phone 2, and it looks great. It looks great. It looks fine. It looks like the Google Pixel 8 Pro on the lower setting. Okay, but also I think the colors are just not as vibrant as it is on the Pixel 8 Pro. Could be a very subjective thing because my eyes are not the gold standard. So I don't like this display nearly as much as the Google Pixel 8 Pros, and the S22 is like a perfect balance in the way that if it's using a smaller screen, and it is, and the resolution is the same as a larger screen, the pixel density is of course higher, and it feels like such a small phone. You don't expect much of it. You think the screen is just going to be very mediocre, very even subpar, and then you turn it on, and then you realize that, oh wow, okay, so this actually feels very sharp, very dense. The pixels are very dense. You don't feel like this is just going to be a cheap screen on a mid-range phone. Absolutely not. I would say this is second only to the Google, maybe even the top, because it depends on your personal preference. If you like the big screens, Google Pixel 8 Pro has got you covered. Okay, if you like the smaller screens, S23, very user friendly. Nothing Phone, I'm sorry, it's just they're okay. All right, I think it's time to go into the problems. So I have roasted Nothing enough. I'm just going to keep them there. All right, I'm gonna put the S23 to the side. Let's start going through the bad parts. And as I said earlier, I'm gonna keep the S23. Yeah. So why am I not keeping the Pixel 8 Pro? I've had it for almost a month. Yeah, I've had the Nothing Phone for only 3 days, and I already don't like it. But I've had this for a month, and I've really liked it for a long time during this month, and I didn't have any major complaints until recently, and that is because after I compared it with a Samsung, then I realized, oh gosh, okay, this phone really isn't for me. So if it is for you, I love it. Then I wish all the best for you. But yeah, this is not for me. So look at this. We got a thermometer here. Yeah, we got a sensor here for detecting different temperatures. And that's great, but why do we have that on a phone, right? When are we going to use a thermometer on a phone, right? So this is just like the glyph lights on the Nothing Phone 2. It's a gimmick, and they're going to make you pay more for it. It's supposed to check your body temperature, like your forehead or something, but first of all, it hasn't been approved yet, yeah. Okay, so we can't actually use it when we buy the phone at this current point in time. And I don't know if Google has noticed, but COVID, the pandemic, is not nearly as as severe as it was 2 3 years ago. So it's a great idea, but you didn't introduce this then. Why are you introducing it now? So you're saying, okay, the thermometer can test your temperature, your body temperature, and it's not ready to be used as a body temperature sensor. And by the time it is ready, it's going to be next year, most likely in 2024. And then the pandemic is just non existent at that point. Yeah. Um, Okay, so maybe you don't want to use the body temperature. Maybe you want to use like my coffee, right? Okay, or let's say my steak or my cake, my pie, okay? And I use it to detect the temperature, to measure the temperature. Why? You can have a dedicated device in your kitchen that sits in your kitchen all the time. Instead of, when you're cooking or trying to drink a coffee, you have to reach into your pocket. You have to grab your phone out of your pocket, and you have to use it to detect your temperature. Why? Well, why don't you just put the back of your hand close to the cup or close to the cake? If you need precise temperatures, I would think a dedicated device, a dedicated thermometer, would be better than the one on the Pixel 8 Pro. So I believe this is okay. Maybe this is a little better than the Glyph lights in the way that it can do something that other phones simply cannot. So because it has an extra sensor that other phones don't have. But I would categorize this in the same level as the Glyph lights. You're only going to use this maybe once a year. Like really need to use it maybe once a year. Okay, bad parts. Bad parts. Why do I not like this? First of all, the bezels are uneven. Okay, that's just me. Second, Google forces you to use the launcher that they have, just like any other phone. But I mean, it starts with the Pixel launcher, yeah. But the thing is, if you can't tell, I'm using a Nova launcher. I'm using the Nova launcher right now. And why am I doing that? Because I don't like the stock Pixel launcher. All right, when you use the stock Pixel launcher, there's the search bar from Google on the bottom. You can't ever remove it. There's the at a glance on the top. All right, you can't ever remove that. It's just stuck on there. And I thought Android was about customization. I thought Android was about freedom. All right, it's about having your own phone, make it yours, right? Make your phone unique. Well, if you have a Pixel, it's all it's all going to be the same layout on the home screen, at least in these two aspects, because you have to have the Google search bar on the bottom. You have to have the at a glance at the top. You cannot remove them. So I'm using a Nova Launcher right now because I like to have my search bar on the top. I like to have my docs on the bottom. I like to have my clock, on the upper edge, and the icons and folders, and leave an empty space in the middle so I can double tap to close the screen, to shut off the screen. And that's the thing. See, so I have to use Nova Launcher to shut off the screen. Yeah. Because why? Because Google doesn't support double tap to sleep. Boom. There's that. So I've always used double tap to sleep, and it just won't let me do it. So I had to use Nova Launcher, and you know what? I can't even use double tap on Nova Launcher, and I am so miffed about that. Why can't I use that? Because here, I have the photo of my lovely wife here. Yeah, awesome. And then I put the calculator on the bottom, right? So I'm trying to do some calculations, and let's say I want to see, right, like 500, all right? Great, that works wonderfully. But if I have double tap enabled on Nova Launcher on the Google Pixel 8 Pro, because I want to use double tap, and this is the only way I can use double tap to sleep, if I press like 55555, the same buttons over and over again, basically double tap on the calculator, the screen shuts down. All right, it just shuts down. So I actually have to go into settings of Nova Launcher to double tap and swipe down in order for the screen to go to sleep. I don't like that. Why does every manufacturer, every Android manufacturer, almost every Android manufacturer, because this one doesn't, almost every Android manufacturer allows double tap to wake, double tap to sleep, but Google, the creator of Android, doesn't support it. Why not? Why not? See, if everyone is doing something, there's got to be a reason, Google. And just because you're unique, you're special, doesn't mean you're better. All right? So, even if you don't like this feature, that doesn't mean everyone has to follow you. You should have the option enabled so that I can turn it off if I don't like it, which will please you, I'm sure. Or I can turn it on if I do like it, which would please the consumer, the end user. But there is no option. There's no choice. There's no freedom. And for Android phones, and especially from Google, the creators of Android, to deprive users of that choice, I just believe is unacceptable, especially for a flagship phone in 2023 and a phone that costs $1,000 or £1,000, which is even more. So, unacceptable in that respect. In every other case, I would say this phone is absolutely marvelous. Everything feels premium. The cameras are amazing. Night mode, taking photos, taking videos in the dark with this phone is absolutely amazing. We have the wide lens, the ultra wide, the telephoto. All of them are absolutely excellent. So, oh great, my Tesco delivery is coming up. I better finish up this video. Oh, and you can double tap the back of the phone to have a flashlight turn on. So let's just demonstrate that. Let's just demonstrate that. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Oh, super bright. Okay. So that's always see. Now I don't think that is a gimmick, because I think that is actually useful. If you need to use a flashlight, you have the phone on. Instead of going through the menus or pressing a button, you can just tap the finger that you already have on the back of your phone. I think that is cool. The thermometer, not so much. Cameras are amazing, okay? Nobody doubt. Out of these three, the Pixel 8 Pro, best camera, hands down. No questions asked. No questions asked, okay? So, wonderful. Keep that there. As for the Nothing phone, I don't really have much to say about this other than I wouldn't recommend it. Because after using a Pixel 8 Pro, I've been spoiled, all right? The cameras are great, right? Cameras on Nothing phone is okay. It's all right. It's nothing special. It's just a, decent camera phone. I don't like the font. Again, freedom, customization, choices. All right. So on the Pixel 8 Pro, I feel like I've been restricted. There's not a lot of, there's not enough customization that I would like on an Android phone. I know in the Apple ecosystem, you're more or less locked into their style, their ecosystem, their devices, their OS, right? But on Android, you are also very much in a similar way, at least with these phones. I can't change the font on the Nothing phone. I never liked this dot matrix kind of font on the Nothing series, but I can't change it. I would think this is a simple thing, right? Just change the font. I want the time, right? I want the date, but I would just change the font. But it won't do that. It won't let me do that. So, and I looked online. It's not very amenable. If you like the design, it's subjective. But if you like the design, great, happy for you. Oh, and of course, so most Android phones have all the buttons on one side, right? Look at the Pixel, right? Buttons on one side. Oh, and this is another gripe I had to bring up about the Pixel. Why is the volume button on the bottom and the power button on the top? Every other Android phone I've used, it would be the power button on the bottom and the volume on the top. Let's look at the S23, right? See? Look at that. Look at that. Oh, it's a little... Okay, let's put some light on there. It's the power button on the bottom and the volume on the top. That's the normal way of doing things. You go to any other Android phone... well, not this Android phone, but you go to most other Android phones, you'd see the power button on the bottom, volume on the top, because that's where you would put your thumb, that's where you would put your index finger, that's where you want to apply that pressure, right? Nothing phone and Google Pixel are a bit unique in the way that Nothing has the power button on the right side of the phone, yeah, and the volume buttons on the left side, so they are opposite to each other. And if you like this, great. I personally think it's all right. It just takes some getting used to. There's nothing good or bad about it. It's just the way you're used to a phone. And this is a big reason why I would say this wants to be the iPhone of the Android world. It's because it wants to copy the kind of clean, minimalistic aesthetic while packing in the strong hardware, which this one definitely has. Maybe not the top at the top of the food chain in 2023, but this one is a fast phone, of course. In terms of gaming, the Snapdragon chips are just going to run circles around the Tensor. I'm sorry, Google, but the Tensor chip is not made for gaming. I played some games on the Nothing Phone 2, and it is so much faster than the Google. So even though the screen is not as good as the Google, if you want a game, don't get the Pixel 8 Pro. Just don't. If you like photography, Pixel 8 Pro is most likely not going to disappoint you. But if you like photography, Nothing Phone is going to disappoint you. And the gaming is, much better suited for this phone. Again, fingerprint sensor on the bottom. It's an optical one, just like the Pixel 8 Pro. S23 has the ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, which won't blind you in the middle of the night, and it's actually faster on a smaller chassis, no less. So I think overall, this phone is just really basic, minimalistic, large screen, yes. Symmetrical bezels, yes. And I can actually use double tap to wake and sleep. So, I don't have to have my custom Nova launcher on it, even though I just like the background, the wallpaper that I have on. So that's just personal preference. This is not a bad phone. All right, especially for the price. It's not a bad phone. I wouldn't say it's a bad phone. I would just say that for the same money, why wouldn't you just get the S23, right? Unless you hate Samsung. If you do hate Samsung with a passion, then, this is off the table. But see, I don't hate. I don't hate companies. I may hate the decisions they make. Yeah, I may have disdain for their design philosophy. I may have, I may loathe their corporate decisions. Most likely trying to screw over the little guys, the consumers. But other than that, I think it is not healthy to have a blind corporate loyalty, like brand loyalty. So don't think that, it's Google, so it has to be the best phone because Android was made by Google, right? Don't think, nothing is the best because it is they have something to prove compared to the other big companies, so they must be the best, like how OnePlus used to be, yeah? Well, Samsung is a big company, obviously, and they have the resources, they have the development team, they have the know-how, the experience of making great phones. And for me, personally, at this point in time, I would say the S23 is for me because it's like a perfect middle ground, right? But with better aspects than both of these phones in certain areas. So the screen, obviously, is much smaller. This is a 6.1-inch much smaller screen, and you can just compare, so assuming my left and right hand are about the same size, this is a much larger phone, and this is a much smaller phone, and this is a much lighter phone, this is a much heavier phone. It's just easy to carry, compact, but actually in terms of chipset, the S23 is much more powerful than the Pixel 8 Pro, and actually more powerful than the Nothing Phone 2, because this one has a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. This has the Nothing Phone has a Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, which is very good chip, but secondary to the Gen 2, 8 Gen 2. This is a thin phone, it's a light phone, it's got 3 cameras. The cameras on the S23 is miles better than the Nothing Phone 2. I wouldn't say the Pixel 8 is miles better than the S23, but definitely better. Definitely better, because it's just so much crisper, so much better at night, at dark scenes. Whereas this Nothing Phone 2, just Nothing Phone 2, just don't take photos at night and expect a great result. Don't especially if you've used the Pixel 8 Pro. Night shots, it's good, it's decent, but it's all relative. If you compare to the Pixel 8 Pro, it's going to lose. If you compare to the S23, it's just going to lose. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. Samsung and Google have worked hard for their cameras, okay? I'm not saying nothing didn't, but they can't compare with these giants in terms of camera and the image processing. They just can't. And also, Google obviously came out with Android 14, yeah, because they're Google. Samsung just updated to One UI 6.0. It's Android 14 now, which is great. Newer software. The updates are going to keep coming for the next 3 years at least. Nothing. Still has nothing. Yeah, so it's still Android 13. Not that it's bad, just saying, when are the updates going to come out, right? So the beta has been floating around for a long time now. Samsung's got it done, got the update. Nothing. Where are you on the updates? So I'm in the UK currently, and this is supposedly a UK phone. Nobody believed that. Okay, it's not a UK phone. It's just have a company based in UK. But if you're gonna call yourself a UK company, then why don't you have the most recent updates for your users in the UK? If you want to compete with the big boys, right? Google, Samsung, at least make your software up to date. So hardware, you can't compete, right? That's fine. That's all right. Nobody's gonna blame you because who's got all the billions of dollars to spend on a new chip, right? Or buying the highest end chips, or asking the chip designers to make a special one for you like Samsung did, right? Who has the money for that? Not you, nothing. But in terms of software, you can't cheap out on that. So that's why I'm putting Nothing Phone last. Also in terms of in terms of software, hardware, you did good. You did good. Software, not quite up to par. So user interface, I think the Pixel 8 Pro is the worst. Yeah, Nothing Phone second. Yeah, and the Samsung's the best. Cameras, the Pixel's the best. S22 second. Nothing Phone's the worst. In terms of screen, I would say Pixel 8's the best. S22 second. Nothing's the last. Again, not because this is a bad screen. It's just not as good as the other two. In terms of battery life, okay, so I've only had the S23 for a few hours? No, not a few hours. Less than 24 hours. So I got it yesterday. And I cannot comment on that. So this is out of the competition. And in terms of Nothing Phone 2, I actually think this has better battery life than the bigger battery of the Pixel 8 Pro. Just because the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 is so dang efficient. Absolutely wonderful. So if you want to keep this all day and you want to do things on it, yeah, great. This is going to be perfect. Except gaming. So obviously on the Pixel 8 Pro, you're not going to game because the frame rates are going to suffer. But if you don't game, I would say Nothing Phone 2 has a better battery life. Just on how you use it again. If you're going to game on the Nothing Phone 2, of course, it's going to run out of battery much faster than the Pixel 8 Pro. But if you're just going to doing daily activities, checking messages, looking at photos, looking at videos, talking with other people, texting, especially if you turn the brightness down. The resolution on this screen does help because it is lower. If you turn on the full resolution, the full maximum resolution, not full HD, but the maximum resolution on the Pixel 8 Pro, it is going to drain more battery. It's going to look gorgeous draining that battery, but it's going to drain more battery. And the Nothing Phone 2 is going to become number one in that regard. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything I should be mentioning. Please let me know down in the comments if you have any questions or concerns about any of these phones because, well, I'm not a rich man, so I'm going to keep the S23, yeah. I'm going to return these two. I'm going to return the Pixel 8 Pro. I'm going to return the Nothing Phone 2. I don't need 3 phones. I certainly don't need 4 phones because I'm recording with my Zenfone 6 right now. So the Zenfone 6 is going to go into storage. I'm going to daily drive the S23. These two are just going to go back. So bye-bye Nothing Phone. Bye-bye Pixel 8 Pro. You both have had amazing qualities, and I respect the hell out of that. But it really depends on personal preference. So in terms for myself, I think there are just too many drawbacks with these phones. With the same price as a Nothing Phone, you can get an S23. For me, it just works. It just works. Okay, so if you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. But the video's not over yet because I don't go caseless. And I'm just going to move these a little to the edge there. Yep. Oh, Pixel 8 woke up. I got some cases. All right, let's talk about some cases. So, Nothing Phone case. What is this one called? Let me just look on the computer real quick. This one's called the No case. Knoow case. This case is whack. All right, and why do I say that? Is because when I put it on, right, this is thicker than, like, too much thicker than the phone itself. You look at the phone, right? You look at the phone, and it's so thin. Yeah, it's so thin, and this phone case is so much thicker. Oh, got a Gmail. So much thicker that there's a gap between the camera modules and the actual polycarbonate board. So there's like about a 1 millimeter gap between this and this. So dust can just get into that crevice. All right, dust, dandruff, lint, from your pocket. It's like just garbage. It's gonna get into the space between your phone and the polycarbonate back. So it's not a well-designed case at all. It will offer protection because this. Oh, I'm just ruining cases. It will offer protection because it has very thick sides and it's very rigid, firm, but not too rigid. It will offer protection for sure, but I really just don't like this case. Also, it's an absolute fingerprint mag. I don't know if you can see it, but just by using it for like a couple of days, this is absolutely just disgusting. And I do wash my hands, so I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, this case is whack. No case, nothing phone 2 case. Yeah, no. Now this is my Pixel 8 Pro case. This is made by Mamumi. I've used it for almost a month, and the branding, they used to write the brand. Wait, where is it? The branding used to be here. Yeah, it used to be here. I'm pretty sure. It's just gone, so it just kind of scrubbed off. But I love this Mamumi case because it's so thin. Look at how thin and skinny it is. If you want to have a phone case that covers the edges in the back from scratches, and almost feels like you don't have a case on, this is the real deal. So let me get the Pixel 8 Pro. All right, I'm just gonna pop this on there. And okay, it's not gonna protect the front because if you look at the edge, it's really close to the screen. Yeah, it's just almost flush. So if you slam this onto the table face down, it's not going to protect your screen. Unfortunately, you're going to need a screen protector for that at least. But it's a very comfortable feel to the touch in the back, and also covers the camera module, camera bump. Sorry, pretty good, pretty well. Buttons are covered, so provides good protection there as well. Just exposes the speakers, the microphone, and also the charging port, of course. This is the closest to a caseless experience I've ever had, and I recommend Mamumi, Memumi, quite a lot because I like this. In fact, I like it so much that I got, forget this case, I'm not even going to put it on. I got another one. This is also made by Mamumi, and it's super thin, but this one's for the S23, so it's super thin. I'm not gonna put this on because I actually want to try on another case for the S23. It's super thin. Look at how skinny that is. It's basically the same width. It's literally like 1 millimeter thicker. And so this is, again, not gonna protect your screen, but it will protect the back and the sides, and it is just a very lightweight, almost caseless experience from Mamumi. Okay, so I'm gonna put that aside. All right, so for the Nothing phone, is there any redemption? So this is, of course, a very light and thin and sleek looking phone. Yeah. So I got another case that will show off the glyph lights and not be so thick that it's going to have a gap in between. So I'm just gonna try to slip that on. Yeah. Okay. So this already feels much better than the no case. Okay, no case means no, as in the opposite of yes, as in don't buy that case. This is the Easy Show case, Easy Show. So this got a little bit of a, kind of like a PU leather texture on the back. And it exposes the glyph lights where they are located. And there's really no gap. Okay, so maybe there's a little bit of gap, but it's not a lot at all. Hello and welcome back. Sorry about that, guys. That was a bit of an interruption because, Tesco actually came in on time, exactly at 12. So, very good job, Tesco. Thank you. However, I had to get back to this video now. So I was just talking about this Yeah, this PU leather material on this case. This is the Easy Showcase, and it's got the glyph lights openings here, just ready to go. There's a bit of space, still underneath between the case and the actual phone module, but this is very rigid and does not feel like there's enough space for a lot of gunk to go through. Basically, just feels like much better. Feels much better in the hands. And how should I say? This is. I guess time will tell if I actually really like having these cut out on the back, because if you're just sliding them on the back, I don't know why you would be doing that, but if you're just doing that, it's going to scratch up your fingers a little bit, I think, because these are not rounded edges. These are very well cut out and just a wee bit sharp. So yeah, this is not a bad case, but because it's the Nothing Phone 2, which is not a phone that I particularly admire, I'm just going to have to set that aside. Yeah. Just let whoever wants to buy that phone purchase that case. Yeah, it's not the case, it's the phone it's attached to that's more important. Understand? All right, so put that there. Google Pixel 8 Pro. And now we have the S23. Yay! So very thin, very light, very sleek. All right, this also has the Mamumi case. I'm just going to pop that on, and I'm going to take it off later, but I'm just going to pop that on. Look at that. It's still thin and light and sleek, and it will protect your cameras because it has that extra layer on top to keep your cameras from directly touching the table, assuming it's a flat surface. Even if you just put it on, it's fine, right? I mean, the glass on the cameras are going to be so strong, as long as you're not slamming it, I'm sure it's going to be fine. But just having this extra protection makes you feel better, but it doesn't really burden you or anything. This one's even thinner because this one has actually exposed power buttons and volume buttons. So this one is just very well done. Okay, let's see if I can take this off without making a fool of myself. There you go. All right, there you go. So it is a very thin and light case. Mamumi, I like it, but actually my favorite one is this, just because it's a perfect fit for the S23. S23 is a small phone, right? Much smaller than the Pixel 8 Pro and the Nothing Phone 2. Much smaller phone, and if you put a rather thick and larger case on a small phone, it still feels great. Actually, if anything, if you have big hands like me, it makes it feel even better because you have a better grip on it. You have a better grip on the phone when you're holding your hand, when you're walking, when you're out and about, when you're doing something. You don't want your phone to be too thin and light or too slippery, right? So the Mamumi cases, they are, of course, more slippery than something like this. What is this called? This is the JE Tech magnetic case for the Samsung Galaxy, all right? So you probably noticed there's a huge ring and a little line here, a little dash on the bottom, and you know what that's for. That's for the Apple MagSafe. So if you want to wirelessly charge your phone, you want to attach it to a surface, most likely going to be your car. I don't have a MagSafe charger, and I don't need one at this moment, but it's good to have a case that's going to have you prepared for a MagSafe charger in the future. So this is ready for that, right? This is ready for that. And this is just so light and, well, not thin, but it's actually quite chunky relatively to the other cases. And it's just, but it's just so good for the S23 because if you slap it on, this is still a very light and sleek phone. It's just much easier to grip now because the rubber is excuse me, its rubber is not textured, but it is very grippy. And I don't know how long it's going to hold up, but I hope it holds up very well. The back looks just very nice, very clean. I'm going to keep the sticker on the phone just because it has the identification information, what is it? The for warranty purposes. I'm not going to just rip that off. Otherwise, the aesthetics would be even better. But this doesn't interfere with your daily usage at all. It has an extra feature that you can just attach to your car, to a MagSafe charger in your car, in your home, anywhere. And when you're done with it, you just take it off, right? There's no trying to fiddle with it, try to align it on the wireless charger. There's no, fear that it's just gonna fall off, or having ugly clamps on your phone, like on a bike or on a plane. Not on a plane, a bike or on a car. This is just a very good pair with this phone. Oh, and I forgot to mention the fingerprint sensor is actually much higher up compared to the Nothing phone too. So Samsung's just got it right in almost every category. The double tap to wake, double tap to sleep. The volume buttons is on top of the power button. Fingerprint sensor is good. Snapdragon Gen 2. It's for me, this is considered fast charging. Wireless charging, I need that because I just don't like cables so much. Look at that clock. Yeah, it's got a wireless charger built in on top of it. And it's not even the fastest. That charger is only 10 watts. And all these phones can charge at wireless charging above 10 watts. Yeah. And that's enough for me. At night, I put the phone on top of the clock. I go to bed the next morning, it's fully charged. And that's just the way it is. It's perfectly fine. 3 cameras. Yeah. Got the telephoto, the wide and the ultra wide. The selfie cameras on these, I don't take many selfies, as you can probably guess. I don't really enjoy all the benefits of having a great selfie camera. But if you, again, this goes the same. If you want a great selfie, cameras, Pixel 8 Pro out of these 3 is king, no doubt. Oh, sorry. You're not the Pixel 8 Pro. The Pixel 8 Pro is king in terms of cameras all the way around. So if you like selfies, if you love selfies, if you need selfies, Pixel 8 Pro. And also Google software allows you to edit your photos at a much greater extent than any of these phones are, than any of these phones can ever hope to achieve, unless Google will be kind enough to pass down that technology to these phones. Google is just so much better in terms of image processing, post-processing, and editing. The AI on the Pixel 8 Pro is superb. There is no doubt about it. All right, so I'm keeping this phone. It is very good for daily activities. It is good for whatever I wanted to do. Yeah, the battery life I'll be able to see, but from what I've saw online, it's been pretty good. Not as great as these 2, but enough to get through a whole day, at least for my usage, because clearly I'm not going to be playing games at work. And if I'm not doing that, then the battery should hold up just fine. All right, I think I've talked more than enough. Again, if you have any questions or concerns, anything that you want to know about these 3 phones, anything, the difference and the similarities between them, then just leave a comment down below, let me know, and I'll try to answer it to the best of my abilities. But so far, the conclusion, for me at least, is that the Samsung S23 is the best choice for me. Maybe in the future, I will move on to a bigger phone, because I moved back to a bigger phone. Because I started out, when I first had my first smartphone, it was a small phone, right? People were making small phones back then. Just very compact, very sleek, yeah. And then the phone screen started getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And now it becomes like a chunky beast that that if you have small hands like my wife does, this is not going to be an option, right? Even for her, even the Samsung S23 would be considered large, right? She would like something around like, a phone that has like a 5-inch screen, like a 5.5-inch screen, right? This is 6.1, so already this is too big for her. And she's waiting for like the mini versions of phones to come out. So if you can imagine like her using a 6.7-inch display, it would just be comedic, right? It would be cartoonish. So for me, I like bigger screens. I like the big phone feel, very substantial. Yeah, you feel like you got a good grip on the phone because your hands are so extended. But I started out with small phones when I first started using smartphones in general. And this brings me back. This brings me back to using a small phone. It's very compact, very sleek, very light, very convenient. You put it in your pocket. You don't really feel it's there. You know it's there, but you don't feel like it's a drag. You don't feel like, oh, it's gonna pull down my pants. It's gonna pull down my trousers. No, no. It's very convenient and useful. Whereas large phones like these, as light and as sleek as they certainly can be and are, they're still heavy, right? You can't escape the fact that this is just a much larger phone. And the footprint is much larger as well. You're going to know it's there. You're going to know it's a substantial purchase. It is a very valuable belonging for anyone. So coming back to the small phones, it's a refreshing experience. Very refreshing, takes me back. But in the future, maybe I want to go back to a big phone, then I'll consider Samsung again, most likely, because transferring files between Samsung products, Android products in general, very easy. Yeah. Yeah, so far I think that's it. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, please just let me know. And I hope you have a great day or have a great night. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.